Welcome to Coffee and Conversations for Men, a podcast where two men, Jay Guy
and Brian Jones,
sit down to share their stories of struggles, successes, and everything in between as they navigate the ups and downs of life.
Each episode will dive into topics men are curious about as it relates to their fitness, nutrition, relationships, mental health, and being a lifelong learner. If you're looking for real talk, honest discussions, and practical advice, you're in the right place.
So grab your coffee
Or your favorite drink.
and sit back and join us for some candid conversations that will inspire, motivate, and remind you that you are not alone on this journey. So let's get started. Today's conversation is about something many men struggle with: reaching out and asking for support, or recognizing that therapy isn't a sign of weakness, but it's a powerful tool for self-growth, self-awareness, and becoming the best versions of ourselves.
And we're honored to welcome Kim Stuart to the podcast. Kim brings a unique combination of professional experience and personal understanding to the counseling space. After nearly 30 years of working in education, including 13 years as a school administrator, Kim has dedicated her career to helping people discover their strengths, navigate challenges, and build healthier relationships with themselves and others.
Kim's approach to counseling is grounded in compassion, curiosity, and collaboration. She believes that people know their own stories best, and meaningful change happens when we create safe spaces to reflect, heal, and grow. Beyond her professional journey, Kim is also someone who understands the value of growth, personal growth, through counseling, and the importance of continuing to learn about ourselves throughout our lives.
In this episode, we'll explore why therapy can be such an important part of men's mental health, why asking for help is actually a sign of courage, and how having honest conversations can lead to stronger relationships and a more fulfilling life.
All right, Jay, what's in your cup today?
Well, you're going to be shocked to know I have yet again another cup of Kicking Horse coffee. This time I have Happy Camper.
Happy Camper.
In this cup.
Well, what's it like?
It's really good, actually. It's a medium blend. It's really smooth. The only thing that it's missing is the aroma of campfire. Yeah, that's it. And like I've already expressed that I wished campfire was a cologne, but it's I love it. Honestly, there isn't. I don't think there's actually a flavor from Kicking Horse that I haven't enjoyed. So keep doing what you're doing, Kicking Horse.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
How about you? What's in your
this
cup?
one is actually a guy from Port Perry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rick Bosman.
Yeah.
Who's a tool and die maker and does decides that he has this hobby on the side, and it's coffee.
Okay.
And basically he's called it Tall Boy Roaster.
Oh my
Because
God.
he's 6'6". He's huge.
Okay.
So I got this from the Port Perry market,
Uh-huh.
and I was strolling through, and he and his sons were there, and they have a vendor booth, and I said, "Oh, tell me about this."
Yeah.
So it's ethically sourced, and it's premium small batched. It's fresh roasted, and it is delicious. This one's called Brazil Espresso.
Nice.
And it's very smooth.
Yeah.
It's dark chocolate, cashews with this baker orange. The beans are grown in Brazil,
Mhm.
And it's delicious.
Nice.
And he has another one there from Costa Rica. I can't remember the name, but I'll put the link in to his site and check him out because he's certainly worth. And he's local for us.
He's called Tall Boy.
Tall Boy is the name of the coffee.
Tall Boy
Roaster.
Tall Boy Roaster.
Tall Boy Roaster.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'll have to check him out.
Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. What comes to mind when you hear the word therapy?
For many men, it's a word that brings up hesitation.
Maybe it sounds like something you only need when things are falling apart, maybe.
Maybe you've thought, I'm fine, I can handle it.
But what if therapy isn't about being broken?
What if it's about understanding yourself better, building stronger relationships, and having a place where you can be honest without judgment?
In this next episode of Coffee and Conversations for Men, we sit down with psychotherapist Kim Stuart.
After nearly 30 years in education as a teacher, leader, and principal,
Kim made a bold decision later in life to follow her new path into psychotherapy.
Together, we explore what actually happens in therapy, why so many men struggle to ask for help, and how having the right support can create meaningful change.
We talk about finding the right therapist, overcoming the stigma, and why taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health.
No judgment, no jargon, just real conversations about something every man should understand.
If you've ever wondered whether therapy might be for you, this episode is worth listening to.
So, coming soon to Coffee and Conversations, we'll explore our conversation with Kim Stuart. So join us. Kim, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us on Conversations for Men.
And we are delighted you're able to join us. We really are. We've been waiting for this day.
Well, isn't that sweet? I'm delighted to be here and truly just moved and touched that you would think to reach out to me, but more just impressed with the work that the two of you are doing in the community as helpers yourselves and, investing in this topic, which is, men and therapy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very important topic to us. Normalizing therapy, normalizing men talking to men, men reaching out and leaning on each other. I mean, that's what this whole show is about.
And just to give you some background, my first therapist was 6 years ago, and had that therapist for a year to help me through some experiences. And then my second therapist started a year anniversary ago. So that's my connection with therapists.
Mine was about 4 years ago,
Okay.
and I saw him for about, I don't know, I want to say a year, probably about a year,
hmm
and then thought I was done. Then my second therapist, I saw her for almost 2 years, and now I'm on my third therapist. Yeah,
Very good. So both of you have experience sitting on the couch, so to
correct.
speak,
Yeah, and that's
as
what we want to do. We
Yeah.
want to, demystify this what this room looks like, because
yeah.
I was scared shitless when I was going. I just, what am I in for? Did I really sign up for this? And mine were face to face.
Mm.
I didn't do
Yep.
virtual. Mine were face to face.
Okay.
So maybe you can. The first question is, someone books a first session. What actually happens when they walk in or Zoom in?
Well, I would hope that the first thing they experience is just a warm smile
Mm.
and an energy that just says, I'm happy to meet you. Like, I'm glad that you're here.
Mm.
Because as psychotherapists, we recognize, especially those of us who have participated in therapy ourselves, which I have also, that makes three of us on the call today, that it's a difficult a decision and choice to come to, and that so many steps have happened before your foot crosses that threshold, or you log on to that meeting. Some of the other things that I think that you're going to experience, or I hope that you would experience in that first meeting, is hopefully a counselor that you feel like you matter to them already. So, for instance, I had a phone call this morning from someone who saw my profile in Psychology Today. They had sent me a quick email earlier in the morning. And when I picked up the phone call, I was able to say, Hey, I read that. I understand this is what you're experiencing. So when you're coming in the door, I hope you have a therapist that's read your intake, that knows some of your presenting concerns before you even have to talk about them. You should
Yeah.
also have a therapist who's willing to talk about their approach to therapy, what this might look like, who's going to mention informed consent, that you're going to know um, how much your therapy is costing, for example, and also just the limitations of our confidentiality. So
Right.
those are just kind of some of the things that I'd be
Mhm.
interested in. And of course, for me personally, I'm always interested in somebody's journey. So I like to know what brought you through this door. How did you arrive with me,
So
right?
being in therapy already, I have done things for myself. I have done some CBT,
Yep,
DBT. Can you just give us an idea of the other avenues that you could take if you were looking into therapy? Because I know individually it's different for everybody.
100%. Yeah, and I think, in Ontario, the CRPO, which is our governing body, um, recognizes that we are a controlled act. So when you participate in psychotherapy with a registered psychotherapist, whether they're independent or qualifying, they have um, they have a license that predetermines what they're able to offer, right?
Okay.
So we have to work within our competencies. For example, we have approaches and foundations that are required to be evidence-based. So regardless of the integration that your therapist perhaps is an expertise in or that you might need,
Mhm.
um, it is a requirement that we're working on evidence-based approaches and foundations. So let's talk about a foundation. So for me, you'll see on many bios, if you go on the website or go to Psychology Today, I have a very person-centered foundation. So that's Carl Rogers' work, where he talks about how important it is to, in the therapeutic alliance or relationship, to receive empathy, to
Mhm.
receive unconditional positive regard. And also to have a therapist who, he calls congruent, but I just call authentic, that what you're saying matches what you believe.
Mhm.
Also foundational for me would be a real strength-based approach. I've known both of you for a very long time, and I think that's just part of how I walk in the world is trying to see the best in anyone who comes across my path. When it comes to therapeutic approaches, yeah, you're absolutely right, Jay. There's so many different kinds. So a CBT approach really takes a look at that triangulation between the influence of our thoughts, so our thinking, on
Mhm.
our feelings and our behavior. It's one way to come at the work, right? An approach is just a way to come at the work. And one day you might experience an approach on this side, and 2 weeks later, something else comes up and it's more appropriate for your counselor to come in, kind of come in the back door or in the basement or down the chimney. That could look like ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, where we're working with clients to get to, yes, acceptance, but also commitment, right? So I can accept that I'm grieving,
Mhm.
but I can commit to still getting up, brushing my teeth, getting dressed, like what we can accept and commit to. When
Mhm.
we look at emotion focused therapy, we're really looking more at a person's history with kind of attachment bonds. When we look at solution focus, something that men are often, in my experience, really drawn to. Let's just get to the solutions. Obviously, solution focused um,
Yeah.
does does meet that need. For me, um, what I have found is that I am so drawn to narrative theory, right?
Mhm.
And narrative approaches, where we look at the stories that we tell ourselves and how they influence how we see the world and how we interact with the world, and how just subtle reauthoring of those stories can completely change our
Mhm.
experiences. Narrative therapy also puts the focus on externalization. So if you two lovely men in front of me right now were to have a conflict, right?
Yeah.
The conflict isn't Brian versus Jay in narrative therapy, it's Brian and Jay versus the conflict. Narrative therapy also uses a lot of metaphor. And as an English teacher, that just speaks to me,
Right.
right? Like who's the riptide in your life,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who represents the shore? Those
Hmm.
types of things. Does
Yeah.
Right.
that
Who
answer
keeps
your
the
question?
grounding?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Now, in our show notes for this episode, we're going to have a glossary of the different
Okay.
abbreviations of therapy, and it's just a quick definition. So when somebody's, going through, they can go to the show notes and see exactly what it pertains to.
Mhm.
So for guys who are coming in as clients, what surprises them the most about therapy once they've started?
I would say one of the biggest surprises my male clients say is just how quickly they realize that the smallest, most incremental changes can make a huge difference in their life. They
That was
all,
me.
oh, they're the
That
high
was me.
five,
That was me.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I was like,
and
holy shit, this works.
And, I also say that one of the biggest changes is like, they're like, oh my God, like I like this.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. And I've started, like, if you're in therapy, unbeknownst to maybe the other people in your life, your wife just is in therapy. your kids are in therapy, your friends are in therapy because, you're sharing. And a lot of the men that I work with did not expect one to see such quick changes and to like it
Mm,
and to be so willing to get into the deep work, but also how whatever held them back before with respect to hesitation and talking about it, they're now willing to like, we need to talk about this.
mm,
I
yeah,
have one male client. I gave them a handout because, of course, if you come to me, you're coming to a teacher. So there will be handouts, there will be psychoeducation.
I love
And
it.
and he put something like right on his fridge. And he's like, every time anyone in my house goes in the fridge, they're seeing that. I love it. There's the ripple effect of it all.
Yeah, Kim, okay, so when people hear the word therapy, they
Yep.
often think of it's only for a crisis. In your experience, who is therapy really for?
Well, you mentioned an important word there. You mentioned crisis. So I think there's kind of two pieces. One, crisis therapy is a very important intervention and tool necessary for people going through a current crisis or requiring a specialization of care. When we
Mm,
talk about psychotherapy and private practice, you're more looking at an approach where someone is coming to you just aspiring to have agency in their life. They have reached a point in their time where their presenting concerns have got to a stage where they're like, I'm suffering.
mm,
I want to reduce my suffering. I'm not functioning. I want to increase my level of functioning. My relationships are compromised, and I want to improve my relationships. So I think there really is kind of a dual answer to that one. Did that answer
yeah,
your
Yeah, it
question?
perfectly,
does. It
actually. Yeah,
does.
I
Right?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I mean, the ultimate goal of therapy is empowerment, right? It's
Mm,
agency.
yep.
That is the ultimate goal, being that own coach, your own coach that lives inside of your
Mm,
head.
mm,
now, I know, Kim, we worked together at a time in our career in different floors, and we connected in one of our master programs that we did projects together on and
We
assignments.
did.
And I know that we talked about, people knocking on our door at our office and saying, "Do you have a minute?" And and we did. We gave them time. But now that you're transitioning into a business where there's actual a
Yeah.
transaction made for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
services, is there still a hesitation of men coming to be clients?
mm,
I would say that that's a fair statement. Obviously, I can only speak to my experience. So, in my current caseload, I probably have 20% of my clients, not quite 25. So, between 20 and 25% of my clients are men, aged in their 20s. So, younger men in their 20s, all the way up to their mid 60s. So, a broad range of ages. But I think, the hesitation is attitudinal and it's
mm.
also systemic, right? So when we think attitudinal, we think, I can handle this myself. Or maybe,
Oh my God. Yeah.
or maybe I was raised in a culture that doesn't value seeking help for our well-being and our mental health. When we talk about a systemic hesitation could be just navigating our healthcare like system
Mm,
if we require specialized care or are in crisis, like we previously mentioned, or even just kind of the systemic barrier of like with me with private therapy, like there's a cost to see me and
mm,
to gain these services, and that can be a barrier and part of the hesitation too.
Mhm.
But honestly, for men, I would say the number one hesitation is I can do this myself.
And that's the rabbit hole I went down. I thought I could do this myself, and
Yep.
because I knew cognitive behavior therapy, so I
right.
thought, why not just do it on myself?
Right.
And it was disaster and some poor choices, and it was horrendous. And I thought I had the confidence,
Right.
and I described this in another episode that we had that my therapist said, Brian, a dentist would never fill their own cavity. A doctor would never give themselves an appendectomy themselves. They would rely on the expertise. Just
Yeah.
because you have expertise in this area does not mean you should do it on yourself. Uh,
Right.
but I retract to some poor decisions, and you know, it was tough.
Mm,
Yeah, but like out of the womb comes light, right? So I'm sure in that experience came lessons that you wouldn't have had
Oh, definitely.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So okay, Kim,
Okay.
once men get past the hesitation to come and see you,
Yeah.
what are the reasons men, okay, how am I going to try and word this? What are the reasons that men give you for actually reaching out to see you eventually?
Right. I Good question. You're
Hmm.
coming at me. My goodness. Um, I would say that probably the number one reason that men reach out to me is that something in their life has become untenable.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's become so untenable that there is now a risk associated with
Hmm.
staying the course. So, and typically that risk has to do with loss,
Hmm.
loss of a relationship, loss of the person they thought that they were or knew, loss of an identity or role, maybe even loss of a job. So I would say for most of the men I see, what brings them through the door is something, and something that they're carrying has become untenable, that is increasing their suffering, reducing their functioning, impacting their relationships. And they're at a point where they feel that something they really care about or used to care about um, has become at risk and that they might lose it.
Now, how does therapy fit into a busy day of a guy? There's work, there's family
Yeah.
responsibilities, there's is just how do they make it work?
Most private practices are really good at offering like a broad spectrum of modalities, like of opportunities and times. So most practices are open morning, noon, and night, like from a 9 o'clock in the morning to a 9 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday. Some private practices even do weekend appointments. And I mean, I know for me, in my caseload, I see clients face to face, I see clients virtual, and I even have a handful of clients that I see just over the phone.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right. So I think my clients and my phone, my virtual clients and my phone clients appreciate that they don't have to build in travel time to and from.
Yeah.
And I have a handful of clients that just actually wouldn't be able to access therapy if they had to physically get there.
Yeah. I do my therapy online as well. And honestly, I couldn't imagine I started with going into
Hmm.
the office and now I
Yep.
just do it online. I couldn't imagine not doing it online anymore. So next question is, where do you see therapy making the biggest difference once they come to see you? Is it their relationships? Is it work? Or is it in their personal identity?
I would 100% say relationships.
Yeah.
That the work of therapy, the outcome that comes from the work of empowerment, awareness, reflection, insight, skills, the impact is in relationship. And that is relationship with ourselves and also relationship with others.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So what's the if a guy does not come,
Mhm.
what is the cost of dealing with that stress and burnout and just the emotional weight that's on the shoulders?
Right. I think it's important first to just recognize that people have a right to be where they are. Right? That there's no right and there's no wrong. There's just choices. So people are allowed to stay where they are. They don't have to do anything. That's the agency of it all. But we all know that, yeah, to your point, Brian, there are real costs. And for men, it's kind of like, putting some masking tape over the check engine light and just hoping it gets better. Um, and you just
Great
keep you
analogy.
just keep driving and drive. I told you metaphors. I'm an English teacher.
I know,
You
yeah.
rip off that masking tape. Not only is the check engine light still on, but you're also in for a lot more costly kind of repair
Mm.
because you've ignored it for so long. So when we think about, in Canada, the rates of people who die by suicide, like men, is 75%.
Yeah.
We know the long-term impact of avoiding dealing with stress, with burnout is increased cardiovascular disease, increased risk for stroke, increased blood pressure, increased loneliness, increased sleep disorder, increased, anxiety and depression, decreased ability to function and social relationships. The costs are huge
Hmm.
and could be somebody's life at the
Yes.
extreme end.
And most times life changing, like you say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even just digestion.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Stress impacts your digestion, your tension in your body, headaches, all those things.
Yeah.
It's all connected, right? If stress is going to change where it shows up until you pay attention.
So you mentioned earlier that you've done counseling yourself. How did that shape your belief in what you're doing now in counseling others?
You know what? Going to counseling myself, and I'm not sure if you two would agree, was probably the hardest work I have ever done,
Oh,
but
hands down.
also the most fruitful. At the time that I sought counseling for myself, I had a job that I loved. I had great family and great friends. But what I didn't have is a skilled person to help me navigate what I was carrying because I truly didn't understand it because I was in it. So, the gifts to me from therapy were awareness, reflection, insight, new skills, and being alongside somebody who would really force me down the ladder,
Mm,
right? We talk about coming down the ladder, like primary and secondary emotions. So if we're angry, it's often a secondary emotion. Angry often obscures a primary emotion that's a lot quieter, like
mm,
hurt, like
mhm,
grief,
mhm.
like
Right.
sadness, like disappointment. And laddering down through your awareness is truly what brings you the gift of empowerment on the other side.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It really does. And this is the first time I've ever heard
Yeah,
laddering.
yeah,
It's the first time I've
makes
heard
sense.
that. Yeah.
What does someone take? What does someone take for that first step if they've never done this before?
I think curiosity is the first step in anything that we try that is new, right? And if we're looking at, like, what do I do? You could ask people, right? So you could talk to family and friends. You could talk to coworkers. Has anyone done this before? I'm kind of thinking about it. You could talk to maybe your doctor, your medical practitioner, if you have one. And if you're not comfortable with that, you know, we've got Google. You can go to a website like Psychology Today and you can look for therapists that are in your area, or you can look for therapists that maybe are experts in an area that reflects your presenting concern.
Yeah. Um, what should someone look for in a therapist and that would represent a good fit for them?
I think you guys really are bringing it. Okay, so the question is, what should someone look for
In a
in
therapist,
a therapist?
yeah.
Okay. Um, I really think it just comes down to a good fit. Like, does this feel good? Um, at the end of the session, hopefully I have a skilled counselor that talks to me about process and says, how was that for you? Right? And gives you the opportunity to really think how the experience was. Like even in my 12-minute conversation with that potential client this morning, at the end of the conversation, I said, how do you feel now? Just that process of talking for the last 10 minutes, where are you at? I feel a glimmer of hope in a 10, 12
Go.
minute conversation,
Bingo.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Other signs would be you're thinking about therapy when you're not in therapy. You're actually interested in maybe doing some between session work that your therapist and you have agreed you might try that time, right? Like therapy is only, let's say, an hour a week, an hour every other week. That's a whole lot of 24 hours times whatever in between session. Other signs could be you hear me in your head,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That it's like, oh my gosh, Kim, I was doing this and I heard you in my head. Or you're sharing stories about your therapeutic experience, or you're passing off a handout. But ultimately, I think one of the greatest signs is you look forward to coming back. You look forward to the time. And you look
Mhm.
forward to the time because something about it has added value.
So for me, my first session was very awkward and very uncomfortable. Is
Oh
that
dear.
normal?
I questions. I guess that depends, right? So awkward and uncomfortable could be two different things. Awkward and uncomfortable because I'm not I'm not vibing with the person that's in front of me. Like
Mm.
you and I, Brian, we're both principals. We know how important it is not to hire a school full of people just like us.
Mhm.
Everybody is somebody's favorite teacher,
That's a
right?
great analogy.
Mhm.
So it's okay if that uncomfortableness and that awkwardness is a result of you just don't think it's a good fit, and that's okay. If I'm that person that you feel awkward and uncomfortable with, at the end of the day, I want what's best for you. And if I'm not what's best for you or who's best for you, I sh not only should be okay with that, I should be encouraging you to find a fit that's going to work for you because at the end of the day, I want you to be well. But if that awkward and uncomfortable is not about the therapeutic relationship, it's more just about, here I am.
Yeah,
This feels awkward.
Hmm.
This feels uncomfortable. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
we
Yeah,
do.
we do.
That's why
Okay.
Spotify gives us
I
the,
try not to, but
well, you know what?
Um,
We've had
you
to
know,
change our
well, I'm
episodes.
quoting somebody else.
okay.
Brené Brown talks about first fucking times.
Oh, I
F
like that.
right? FFTs in one
Yeah.
of her earliest podcasts when she did one of her series. And sometimes awkward and uncomfortable is just because it's an FFT. It's not anything you've experienced before. You're new to it. The first time you strap on downhill skis, awkward, uncomfortable,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
You become a parent.
Yeah.
You like anything that is, you drive a stick shift for the first time,
Yeah.
awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah. So just to add to that note, for some of our listeners who are listening right now that are on the fence about
Okay.
therapy,
Yep.
what would you say to them?
Again, I would just say that it's okay to be where you are.
Hmm, that's great.
I
Yeah.
I would also say, like, I'm sorry that you're suffering. Um, I'm sorry that whatever you're carrying is difficult, but that if you are ready to look at ways to reduce suffering, increase functioning, improve relationships, and get some agency in your world where maybe you're feeling kind of helpless, psychotherapy might be something that could help you.
Yeah, this is a
And in
great place
fact
to
has
start.
helped many, many, many other people.
Yeah. Kim, the one thing that comes up a lot is finding the right therapist. How
Mhm.
important is it to fit with the right therapist?
I would say it's absolutely critical, and psychology research supports that.
Mm.
That it the therapeutic alliance, the therapeutic relationship is actually the number one predictor and protective factor that contributes to improved outcomes.
So it's not just a matter of I'm going to therapy, it's finding the right therapist.
Correct.
So is it normal to try a few therapists out before you even find the right one?
I think it's different for everybody, right? Like when I look back to my high school days, it
Mm.
took me forever to find one prom dress. My son got married this fall, and the first dress I tried was the one. So I, I think that everybody's
Yeah.
experience is different.
Yeah, I love the prom dress analogy. That's that you consider that stolen,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah.
You see, we don't I didn't interview my doctor. I didn't interview my dentist.
Yeah,
I didn't interview my
right,
osteopath, and I certainly
right,
didn't interview my urologist. I just got the schedule. I trust them. Here I go.
right.
So, so trying out therapists was something brand new to me.
Hmm.
Um, and I find my second therapist, the first one had dealt with a different issue than my second therapist is working me through because my first therapist said, you know what, Brian, I got to admit, this is what you're dealing with now, and it's out of my expertise.
Right.
So, in order for you to go further,
Hmm.
um, you need this kind of therapist. So
I'm
I was
grateful you had that
grateful
kind
to
of
know
ethical
that.
care. Yeah.
But it took me a long time, and I interviewed
Hmm.
Hmm.
therapists,
Yep.
and I was looking for a specific criteria. Little did I know that he was also interviewing me to see if I was a fit for the skills that he could offer,
For sure. For
which
sure.
is really important.
Mm.
That
And, for some people that's important. And for others, like You'll notice like when Bridge to Hope launches in August. So our website might look a little bit different than maybe some other private practices. Our Meet the Therapist is really quite long.
Mm,
I I want people to know before they even have an encounter with us of the therapists in the practice, um, who they are, what their approach what their approach to therapy is, what their background and their education is, what their specializations and expertise are. And I also want them to see who I am outside of the therapy room. And because you never know what's going to hit for you. So I have clients that have read my bio at the practice that I did my internship at. I have clients who read my bio at Psychology Today, and seeing my face and reading that was enough for them to just book a session. And I have other clients, most private practices will do a 15-minute free meet and greet,
yeah.
some even 30 minutes. And that meet and greet is a really important opportunity, yeah, for like you to interview me to see if we are a good fit and what we might be able to offer one another in the
So,
experience.
are there key points that would tell me it's a good fit? Like, how will I know it when it's a good fit?
You
Is
know,
it just a gut feeling?
I want you to trust your knowing,
Mm,
right? Like just
Trust
trust your
your
knowing
knowing. Oh my
mm,
God. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and have the courage if it does like it's that whole feeling of what feels warm and what feels cool. And if something feels cool, it's okay to say, thanks for your time,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
if you're someone that's going to stick with a therapist for like 3 or 4 sessions, even though in those first 10 minutes you didn't have that warm, knowing feeling, in your next therapist, you might want to say, I might have some avoidant attachment tendencies. Can we talk about that? Right?
Uh, I'm using that line tomorrow. Avoidance tendency practice. Oh my God.
Oh my God. So you half answered my next question, which is
Okay.
which is how important is it to feel comfortable versus feeling challenged when it comes to therapy?
Ah, very good question. So comfort, comfort is key. If you're not comfortable, right, your central nervous system is not going to feel safe. And if you're not going to feel safe, your brain is going to stay in a fight or flight stance, right? Which means you're not going to have access to all the things that we're going to want to access, like our feelings, like our thinking,
Yeah.
in a therapy session. So feeling comfortable is absolutely key. And, really what the front matter part of counseling is for so many people is establishing stability first. Right. And, a good counselor will work with their clients to establish some type of feeling of stability or security, even if it's just within the space, so that you can get to, yeah, challenge, because that is an important part of arriving at awareness is sometimes to be challenged. And I can think, I'm sure maybe you've experienced this. I know I sure did. My therapist challenged me when we talk about like things in their head, like 13 years later, I can still hear my therapist say, do you really think you're as good of a communicator as you think you are? And I'm like, oh, boom,
I know.
right? Turns out people can't read my mind. Turns out clear is kind. There was learning there. Um, but there's also the challenge of like, we are trained to listen in a really multifaceted way. We listen to what you say, to what you don't say. We're listening for congruence. Like, let's think of a challenge example. You just said, I don't care. I don't care if I, let's say, ever see that person again or ever communicate with that person again. What I noticed when you said, I don't care, your words said, I don't care on one hand. On the other hand, you close your eyes and you looked at the floor. Or, I can see your eyes are shiny. That's not congruent with not caring.
Mm,
Let's ladder, right? Let's ladder this down.
mhm. Yeah. Or as mine would say, let's peel back some layers on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peel back the onion a little bit.
Yes.
And, also trained to observe, right? To watch,
Hmm.
So,
which is a
so, so what does a therapist do to help a client open up more?
provide a safe space,
A safe space?
show show that they care and that they matter, right? And that the clients presenting concerns are first and foremost what is driving the work that you're doing together. Um, and also, like, if you're coming into my room, you should have an expectation of my level of expertise. And everybody is different, particularly men. Um, at
Mhm.
it's like teaching, Brian. Like there's always a way in, right? It's it's trusting your therapist to find the access. Men often don't have a high emotion vocabulary, right? So finding the way to access that um, requires a different skill set from somebody like me. So you want to be with somebody who's skilled enough to know how to try,
Mm. So on the
right?
on okay, so on the flip side of everything we've been talking about,
Okay. Flip side.
what are some of the red flags that people should watch out for when they're finding a therapist?
So again, not a warm feeling, that kind of cool feeling, know you're knowing.
Yeah.
Somebody who um someone who like doesn't remember you session to session. Someone who expects you to, you know, to repeat yourself at the beginning of a session. For me, our time together is only one part of the process. I have work that I do to prepare to meet my clients, and to prep what we might get to or might not get to, but there's prep work that goes into meeting you for that hour. It's not just the hour. And that there's a significant amount of work that actually comes after the session is over, including just the legal requirement of charting. So that would be one thing, that if someone is just really not like, I told you this the last time, why do
Oh
I,
yeah, so
right?
reintroducing yourself each session.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And you're just like, am I not? It makes you feel like you're not important to that person. And
Yeah.
then maybe another red flag would just be a therapist who's not engaging you with talking about your process, right? So we've been together for 2 months now, 6 months now, 4 weeks in a row now. Let's talk about the process.
Mm.
Let's talk about progress. Let's talk about if this is working for you. Do we need to change goals? Like, if you're not talking about the process, you're not talking about what's happening between you.
Hmm.
Does
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
It
it
does that
does.
ki-
does.
does
Yeah.
that land?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
So if someone feels judged or misunderstood or there's this disconnect, is that a sign to move on or to stick with it?
Keep asking me these questions that are depends.
Okay,
Um,
that's
if
okay
you,
because I think that's what we want our listeners to
yeah,
hear.
if
That
you
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you really are judged or misunderstood,
Hmm.
yeah, um, that maybe just isn't a good fit.
yeah.
Or finding the courage to say, "Hey, I'm feeling misunderstood right now." And your therapist going, okay, tell me more about that. Why do you feel that I misunderstood you? And all of a sudden, you're opening a door to maybe other people in this person's life feel misunderstood.
Mm.
And and we're going to talk a little bit more about communication. We're going to talk a little bit more about being present. So it kind of it kind of depends. Are you really being misunderstood, or do you have a perception of being misunderstood? And we need to get a little more curious about that.
Mm.
Now there's it's interesting when I leave a session, there are times I'll go out to the vehicle and just cry.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, I cannot believe it's a kind of a love-hate. I can't believe I'm paying for that session because he has just uncovered a layer that I was not prepared to go down. And when
Yeah.
I come home, my wife knows if I have stopped off and picked up a piece of clothing at a store, that she knows that it's been a rough session because I've had to soothe
Reward
myself
yourself.
by going.
By shock.
And it's true. By the
Dose
tell.
of dopamine. Dose of dopamine.
Oh my God.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway,
Yeah. Can you differentiate between this is uncomfortable but helpful versus this is just not a fit for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit. Like this is uncomfortable. Um, can be a really prickly feeling, right? Like
Mhm.
that's that's itchy, scratchy.
Mhm.
And a skilled therapist will notice that you're uncomfortable and will take pause and ask you about it,
Mhm.
right? Because maybe you're uncomfortable because we've hit something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the time to put a pause on that, right?
Mm.
Like Brian, to your point, you've hit something heavy or you haven't seen something that way before, or boom, you just connected some dots I wasn't expecting when I walked in the door. Um, it's okay to put a pin on something. Like there's no rush and circle back to it at another time.
Yeah, I'm glad you answered it that way because that's one of the things when I have talked and had conversations with people, and they're like, "Yeah, but isn't it uncomfortable?" And so you really explained it very well. So thank you. Your answer was perfect.
And
And
I've been there, right?
yeah,
Like it
and
is the hardest work I've ever, the hardest work you can ever do is to look at yourself,
yeah,
right? And you need somebody skilled to walk beside you to do that work
yeah,
because they're not gonna let you stay crumbled. The
correct.
pieces of you take the puzzle apart, you look at the pieces, they're there to help you examine them
Mhm.
and rebuild, right? That you're not alone in the process. I think that is just so important that you're not feeling alone in the journey. That's why
Yeah,
you called out and asked for help in the first place.
that's right. And the last question on this subject, is it okay to outgrow your therapist?
100%. And, outgrow can look like different things. Brian, you had mentioned that you perhaps outgrew one of your therapists because your presenting concern required a level of competency and skill that that therapist it didn't have, and they felt that
Mhm.
you would be better served if you were referred to somebody else. That's one example of outgrowing. Some clients have a very specific set of presenting concerns and a set of collaborative goals that we work on together. And when they feel those goals are achieved, they're like, okay, like I don't think I need to, or I want to switch to something else right now. We're good. We have other clients that, how sometimes you go to the chiropractor for maintenance or your massage therapy for or your massage therapist for maintenance,
Mhm.
that you do the same type of check-in with your counselor. It's not that you've outgrown, it's that, you've met some of the goals of therapy, which at the end is empowerment and agency. And it's okay to just maybe check in a couple times a year, at the turn of every season for a
Mhm.
tune-up.
Yeah, I felt like I outgrew mine, not in a negative way, but I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I think our time has run its course here, and
yeah,
I think it's time I need to find something else.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How many sessions would you say you should give a therapist before deciding, yeah, you're the right fit for me? Is there a certain number you think, or is it just a vibe?
Uh, For me, like I can speak for myself, it's a vibe.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that, didn't know before I bought a house, didn't need a tour of the whole house. I could walk in the front door and be like, nope, I'm out. Or yes, this is for me. But I appreciate that everybody's different. But I would think if you're not feeling it after 3 sessions,
Yeah.
um, it's okay to try something new.
Is there two or three practical things I need to do before that first session as a potential client to to ensure success? This is going to be a fit, or like I'm not sure if I was prepared for my first session, and I'm wondering if I had there's some practical things I could be doing to make sure that we could get in there and do what we need to do.
Right. We're talking about a first session. So when I think about preparing for a first session, it's it you're not preparing for a presentation or a paper or a project. You're preparing to be vulnerable. And my message to anybody who comes to see me for the first time, and I'm blessed to meet, is come as you are,
Mm,
Good.
yeah. So the
right?
next, yeah,
Just
you kind of answered that. Yeah.
just
Yeah,
come
yeah,
come
Yeah.
as you
Come
are.
as you are. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that. Yeah, come as you are. And
That's where I'll meet you, right? Like
yeah,
that's
then
that's where I'll meet you.
oh God, when I met my therapist that I have currently, I just felt like that. So it was unspoken. Neither one of us actually said that, but I was 5 minutes in and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, she's the one for me."
I
And
love
I've
that.
felt like that from day one, from minute five. So that's why that question, how many sessions should you give yourself?
Yeah.
Because instantly I felt like she was the one for me. So I didn't actually have that transitional stage of like, this is a test period, right?
Yep.
It was instant. I was like, yeah, you're a good fit
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
And yeah, I just knew it right away.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
a handful of clients that have been kind enough to reflect that back to me and just share that process.
Yeah.
I'm
So
happy for you.
should people ask the therapist questions beforehand or right up front when they're getting into a session?
Can you rephrase that? What are you
Yeah.
looking for?
Should people interview a therapist
Hmm.
beforehand or asking questions up front when you're in the session?
It's totally up to the person.
Okay. All right.
It's as far as outcome, it's neither here nor there to me. But I want to meet people where they are. So if
Mm.
somebody is a little, going back to one of our first questions, is a little hesitant, and maybe a meet and greet would feel like kind of a more gradual entry into the water as opposed to a cannonball, then that's okay.
Yeah, I'm more of a
I'll meet you on
cannonball
the beach.
guy.
I'll meet you on the beach. Maybe I meet Brian on the beach and I'm swimming with my noodle waiting for you to land, Jay.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God, yeah.
Jay is a
Yeah. I'm
cannonball.
a cannonball. I
I
just know
just
that.
want my toes
Yeah.
wet a little bit, and then I'll decide if I go to my knees.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more of a cannonball. Okay, so this section is called rapid fire.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? All right.
Sure.
One thing men are surprised to learn about themselves in therapy. Can you put a finger on what that one thing would be?
They're more than their roles. They're more than a
Oh,
father, a husband, a fill in the blank at work.
Oh
okay.
my God.
Is it okay to not know what to say in a session?
100%.
Wow. Okay. All right, ready? What
Okay.
does progress actually look like in therapy?
Progress can look like many things for many people, but I will tell you that almost always it's incremental,
Hmm.
right? It's incremental steps towards reduced suffering, increased agency, increased functioning, increased, or I guess improved relationships. But it could look like learning to set one healthy boundary,
Yeah.
being assertive,
Mhm.
speaking your truth once. Um, it can be different for everyone. Having a full night's sleep, going a day without a headache. It could be so many different signs. Going on a run where you just haven't felt like putting on your running shoes in months.
Great answer.
Okay. If someone can only remember one thing in this podcast, what do you think it should be from this conversation?
It's okay to get help.
Yeah.
Changes
Yeah.
everything, right? Curiosity killed the cat. It doesn't necessarily have to kill us. It's okay to
Yeah.
get help.
Yeah. So
And
if
there's skilled,
somebody's, sorry, go ahead, keep going.
yeah, and there's skilled people out there for all different forms of help that we might choose to access. We're just one of many different helpers.
Great answer. Sorry to cut in so quickly. And you've
It's
half
okay.
answered this last question. You've half answered this last question. If somebody is quietly struggling and hasn't told anybody, what would you want them to hear today?
What I just said.
Yeah.
I know that's why I
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Now, as you launch Bridge to Hope and you begin seeing more clients,
Yeah.
what kind of
Yeah.
impact do you hope you'll have? Not just with individuals you counsel, but for the community that you've spent so many years serving.
Oh, thank you for that question. I think for me, it comes down to just my foundation, not just my values, which is how I approach the work, but my foundational belief about the work. And my belief is this: when individuals are more healthy, when their well-being is improved,
Mm.
that doesn't just impact their life experience, it has a ripple effect out to their families, out to their friends, to their workplaces. So when you have people who are healthier, then you have families that are healthier, you have communities that are healthier. So this work actually benefits the world. And it's an opportunity for me personally just to continue to be a helper as I look forward to retirement from a career that I've loved and continue to just be a ripple maker in the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
Continue to
fantastic.
be of service. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. We always end our interviews with this same question. What advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Mm. What advice would I give my
Your
younger
younger self.
self, knowing what I know now? I would, hmm, I think that I would caution my younger self. I would caution younger Kim um, about the limitations of binary thinking.
Mm.
All, nothing, good, bad, perfect, imperfect, worst, best, and on it goes. I think that as you age, with wisdom and experience, you learn to increase your tolerance for ambiguity. And the benefit of that is flexibility. And the benefit of that is freedom. I
Wow.
would,
Now, I know being an educator, you have homework for us.
I do. I
So,
see Jay's face. Jay, I actually wrote I'll tell you one thing that I did. I I love you, man. I actually I wrote a letter to perfect, right? I'm somebody who, who's had some struggles with perfectionism and control in my life.
Wow.
We'll get to that in a minute. And I wrote a letter to Perfect, and I thanked Perfect for the role that it played in my life and how it functioned. And then I gently broke up with it. And
Oh,
I've removed Perfect from my vocabulary. And that, you know, talk about a recovery process. That was a huge thing. So yeah, those binaries are key. And Brian, I'm just looking at you and I'm going back to kind of the ripple maker comment. There is a psychologist in the States who wrote a book called Halftime, and it's based on football. But the idea is that we can all benefit from an intentional interruption, a halftime, where we what some people would call midlife, but you don't need to have a midlife reckoning or a crisis to get there,
mm,
where you take a look at that rear view mirror and we realize that the first half of our life is so much about success and achievement, the checklist.
mm.
But that if we're willing to do the work in midlife, to take that pause, what you're doing, Brian, what you're doing, Jay, in your sessions, you get this beautiful bridge and transition to the second half of your life if you're so lucky. And that's about significance. That's about service. And honestly, your podcast, Coffees and Conversations with Men, is part of evidence that you two have bridged that halftime and are putting a focus on the next chapter of your life towards service and significance, which is part of the motivation, for me to make the changes that I've made too, as far as switching careers at this stage of life and going back to school.
Wow. That's powerful.
that is,
What a,
that
what a
is. Oh my gosh.
powerful
You know,
answer.
we're going to put the halftime book in the show notes too,
Yeah.
the
Okay, I
link.
haven't read it for a while. It's probably been over a decade since
Mhm.
I read it.
Okay.
But I do remember that metaphor.
Okay. That's
But
good.
are you ready for your homework?
Yes. Okay. Lay it
Okay,
on us
No.
because
so
you know that
I
we
have
just,
a book for
Yes.
you. I have a
okay.
book for you to read, and you can read it on audio if you want. I listened to one of your recent podcasts, and it was on the let them theory
Correct.
and how that really resonated with you,
Yeah.
and how you specifically liked getting to let me. So I'm encouraging you to have one of your let me's. Let me read this book.
To
And I'll tell you in a second. I'm going to
um,
pull it back down. I'm
that's
teasing
my
Okay.
you.
Okay.
ADHD.
Uh,
It is.
let me understand why it's so difficult for me to let them.
Oh,
Let me go before the let them and take a real look at what is my motivation for overfunctioning? What is my motivation for being controlling? And this book by Terry Cole
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can, kind of
Yeah, it's
blurry.
going in and out of your
I'll show
background.
you. I know, I don't know how
There
to
you
do
go.
it.
Hold it in
There it
front
It's
of
is.
you.
called
There it is.
Yeah,
Too
There it is.
Much,
yeah,
right?
it
Very
is.
cool.
A guide to breaking the cycle of high functioning codependency.
Wow, that sounds deep.
It looks at the why,
Okay.
right? And when you look at the why, you're like, oh shit, let them. Yep. Now it's not just a good idea. Like there's a why for that. Um, and things that we need to recover from in order to move through it. The next one is one that so this is good on audio.
Okay.
This is good to buy. Vagus nerve protocol,
Yeah.
right? Your vagus nerve is the nerve that goes through your whole body that tells your central nervous system essentially if it's safe or not. And Jay, I know you work out. Brian, I know you work out. When you are able to increase and strengthen your vagal tone, you are not, you're able to, your tolerance is so much higher. You take yourself out of fight or flight and into stability where you can do the work. And for so many of clients that come to therapy, you can't talk yourself out of feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
Right? And our body doesn't know how old we are. Our body doesn't know what is an emotional danger or a physical danger. It knows patterns.
Hmm.
And the front matter of this book is only like 30 pages. It's so easy to read, and you'll just be like, oh man, check, 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 underline it, talk about it. But the rest of the book is a different activity that you can do every day for 28 days to help you. I call it, when you think parasympathetic nervous system, think of a parachute. What does a parachute do? It slows your fall. It slows you
Hmm.
down so that you can notice what's going on around you. A ton of different regulation activities for you to find the ones that work best for you. Everything from breathing, which is the start of anything, to, running your wrists under cold water, to holding a hot cup of tea, to putting on your favorite sweater, to stretching. So that is a good one. I would buy that one so you can underline it.
Okay.
And then the last one. This one's both. If this one was listen to it and this one was buy it, this one is listen to it and buy it. And this is the second time that I'll swear in your podcast, but I'm reading a title. There
Give it.
is a
Give it. Give it.
psychotherapist in the States, California, named John Kim. His tagline is The Angry Therapist.
Okay.
And for me, as someone who's working with men, it's really important for me to find male voices to bring to my male clients that might resonate with them. Because as much as I might be a skilled therapist, I'm not a man.
Yeah.
Um, this book, I used to be a miserable fuck, an
Ah.
an an everyday guide to a meaningful life. I have not given this to a male client that they were not like, I sent this to every guy I know. The chapters are 2.5 pages. He's hilarious. Everything from like, don't pee in the shower to, um, you'll have to read the chapter to see what it's
Okay. No, we
about.
will. We will.
Uh, to relationships are not self-sustaining.
Oh, wow.
Um, so you might actually find in here some ideas for some future podcasts.
Great. Let's do a book talk,
Oh, challenge accepted.
book club with some
Yeah.
listeners. Fantastic.
Oh,
Fantastic. Now, okay, how do people find you?
yeah.
I know
Uh,
we'll put it in the show notes, but
Thank you.
tell us, how will they find you?
Okay, the best place to find me is always just to go to Psychology Today because it's going to give you the updated practice that
Okay.
I'm working at. I'm coming out of my internship. As you know, I'm opening my own private therapy practice. So as of August, you're going to find me at bridgetohope.ca. That's my private therapy practice.
Mhm.
And on Psychology Today, you'll also have my personal email connected to that. So it's kim.stuart, Stuart, at bridgetohope.ca.
Oh, wow. This
Or they
this
could,
has been
Congratulations.
amazing, Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
aw,
thank you, thank you.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you for being a part of this show. I'm
Yep.
Oh,
so stoked to have you on this.
an absolute delight. Proud of
Good.
you both.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Congratulations on moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
I'm
What a
blown away.
gem.
Yeah, I'm blown away. There were so many nuggets
Yeah.
of information in there. Wow, what a gem indeed.
Yeah.
She was incredible.
I think with our questions, and she hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
from that perspective, from that side of the file.
Yeah, that's
from
right.
that side of the
fence.
room.
Yeah, absolutely. I know personally for myself, the hesitation of, wanting to speak with somebody, telling all my stuff to, it's nerve-wracking.
Sure it is.
And
sure it is.
so to have that perspective from her as a therapist on coming from that side of the fence, she expressed herself beautifully.
Yeah. And she gave me language that I'm using with my therapist tomorrow when I go to my appointment.
I love it.
Because I'm this avoiding tendency problem.
Yeah.
I need to talk about that.
Love that.
With the
I
therapist.
have therapy on Wednesday, and I will be mentioning the ladder effect that she has. And we different language calls it something else. We call it like peeling back the layers. But I'm going to touch on the ladder effect. Yeah. And there's just so many things that she touched on that I will be picking apart.
So we have in the show notes put the books. We have got it time stamped. If you're looking for specific questions, you just go through the sections and it'll be time stamped of what to go back to in the recording to hit the answer that she answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and honestly, when she touches on certain things, if that rings a bell for you, then you can definitely, like Brian said, you can definitely go through the timestamps and pick what works for you and what you want to explore.
That's right.
That's the beauty of the timestamps.
And basically, we just want to normalize therapy for men.
Yeah.
It's just treat it like an oil change. just treat it like a dentist appointment.
Yeah.
A maintenance appointment. It's a checkup from the head up.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have to start somewhere. Honestly, we have to start somewhere. And, normalizing it is a good place to start.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us for this episode. And that wraps up today's episode of Coffee and Conversations for Men.
Thanks for spending time with us. We truly appreciate it.
Be sure to check out the show notes for resources, links, and everything we've covered today.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend or leave us a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Coffee and Conversations for Men. That's 4 as in the number 4. Got a topic you'd like us to explore? Reach out and let us know.
Just a quick reminder, we're not therapists, we're not counselors, we're not licensed professionals, just 2 longtime friends sharing real stories and lessons from our own lives.
So if you're facing challenges with your health, your mental well-being, or your relationships, we encourage you to seek guidance from qualified professionals.
We hope our conversations sparked reflection, encouraged growth, and helped you feel more connected.
Until next time, this is Jay
and Brian,
reminding you to grab your coffee
or your favorite drink
and keep the conversations going. To stay strong,
stay curious,
and stay connected.